Which brings me on to the gameplay. Despite Chris Taylor's promises of improved strategy, there's hardly any involved. Practically every mission seems to be a turtling mission where you just have to reinforce your base and build up your forces and then attack the enemy. And then upgrading your units to whatever level in the process. I mean, he told us that this new research feature would be critically important to winning. And in an interview, he said something along the lines of, if you think your enemy has lots of air units, you'll have to upgrade your air defences first. And I think the trouble is that most of the useful, strategically important upgrades are at the top end of the tech tree, which you can't get hold of for ages. And they don't offer many real advantages anyway, to be quite honest. What else is there? Yeah, most of the missions, you can win most of them by just sort of spamming the enemy with units. I mean, there's one or two issues with pathfinding as well. I mean, for some reason, the units don't always obey your commands, and they occasionally get stuck on each other, especially the engineers and your ACU and the naval units as well. Yes, your ACU, when it gets stuck, it does sort of a funny little dance. It wiggles backwards and forwards. It's quite funny, actually. Yes, the next problem is the overhauled economy. You can't start building a unit or structure until you have the sufficient mass and energy for it. I mean, even Command and Conquer 1 didn't suffer from this problem. I mean, you've got to go back to Herzog Zwei and Metal Marines to find games that had this limitation. I mean, next is the difficulty, or rather, lack of difficulty. I read some people's comments who had played the demo version of the game, and they said it was too easy. So when I started playing, I immediately set the difficulty to hard, so that I wouldn't suffer from the same problem. No soup for me, I'm afraid. I started with a UEF campaign, which was 6 missions long. All of the campaigns are 6 missions long. And I completed it in less than 5 hours, and that was including a couple of restarts. But I still did it within 5 hours. And the other campaigns are much harder. In fact, the score I was getting at the end of the mission actually suggested that I was taking far too long to complete the missions. Next is the graphics. The graphics, oh yes, the graphics. I set the graphics to the highest resolution as I've got a computer that can handle good graphics. And as I said earlier, it ran smoothly and without a hitch. The scenery was lovely and I was impressed. Some of it reminds me of that Naboo city in Star Wars Episode 1 or whatever it's called, I don't know. Awful film, I must say, but the effects were good. The units, however, they were a completely different kettle of fish. Particularly the UEF units. I mean, they look like they were made of bloody Lego. I mean, I'm not the only one that said this either, because I've just seen somebody's comments, and they called this game Lego Commander. And when you get there's a shield upgrade you can get, which gives each of your tanks and whatever a personal shield for protection. But if you zoom in and have a look at the unit afterwards, all it is, it's just covered in this. The surfaces are just covered in this awful, non-animated, white, noisy, artifacty thing, and it's as if they've just covered it in and said, "Oh, let's call that an energy shield." It looks bloody awful. Last and not least, least, is the story, because it's not very good, and neither the characters. The bad guy is just your common old garden warmonger whose motives are ridiculous. There are lots of reasons somebody like this could have wanted to start a war. Money, power, revenge. But oh no. This guy just wants a war for the sake of a war. Oh, and there's there's one thing I must mention. One of the enemy commanders you have to fight in the UEF campaign bears a striking resemblance to that crazy American politician, that Sarah Palin. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but there is definitely a resemblance, and I thought it was quite funny. Actually, I'll put a picture up. I'll put the two side to side, and tell me yourself what you think. What do you reckon? I'm right, aren't I? Yes, and the endings suck. So, nice one, Square Enix. I guess your box of tricks isn't as bottomless as we were led to believe. So, I think you best stick with fantasy games. So, overall, I found the game disappointing. And if you've never played a Supreme Commander game before, and are interested, just buy and stick with the original. I'm sure you'll be a lot happier for it, I really do. Well, that's all I've got to say, so, thank you for listening. Have a nice day.